The house was silent, wrapped in the soft glow of moonlight. Outside, the trees swayed gently in a winter breeze, their shadows stretching across the lawn. Inside, Emily lay half awake, the blankets tucked around her, the quiet hum of her phone charging on the nightstand the only sound. Then, a soft bark echoed down the hallway. It wasn't loud, just enough to pull her from the edge of sleep. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes. Max, the family golden retriever, stood by the doorway. His ears were perked, his head tilted slightly. There was nothing frantic in his stance. Nothing scary. Only purpose. Emily blinked, staring at him in the dim light. "Max, what is it?" she whispered, her voice barely rising above the quiet hum of the night. Max didn't answer. He simply nudged the air with his nose, then sat back on his haunches, staring down the hall. His golden eyes seemed to hold a question, a quiet insistence that made Emily's chest tighten. She swung her legs out of bed, the floor cool beneath her bare feet, and slowly followed him. The hallway felt longer in the moonlight. Shadows of picture frames stretched across the walls. Each step Emily took was mirrored by Max's soft padding behind her. The air smelled faintly of the pine-scented candle she had lit earlier, still glowing in the living room. Max stopped halfway to the living room. He turned his head toward a corner of the hall and sat. Just sat. Watching. Emily crouched down, putting her hand gently on his fur. "Okay, Max." "I'm coming," she whispered. Her voice was calm, but a small shiver of curiosity ran through her. For a moment, they both stayed like that, silence, punctuated by Max's soft breath, the quiet night outside the window, the faint ticking of the living room clock. And then, he moved again. Slowly. Methodically. Head low, tail sweeping gently across the rug. He led her to the living room. The room looked ordinary. Moonlight spilled across the carpet, glinting on the corner of the coffee table. The fireplace was cold. The couch cushions were neatly arranged. Nothing was out of place. But Max wasn't satisfied with ordinary. He padded to the far corner of the room, sniffing lightly, then looked back at Emily. His eyes, full of insistence, full of quiet meaning. Emily crouched near him, following his gaze. She squinted, scanning the corner. "I don't see anything," she murmured. Max nudged the floor with his nose, then glanced up at her again, tilting his head slightly. His eyes held that same warm intensity that always made Emily feel like he knew more than he let on. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't anxious. He was guiding. Emily took a deep breath, the cool air brushing against her face. She knelt fully now, placing a hand on Max's golden head. "Okay, show me," she said softly. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Max pawed gently at the rug. Something small shifted beneath it. Emily leaned closer, lifting the edge. Her fingers brushed a folded piece of paper, yellowed slightly at the edges. She froze. Her heart thumped softly. Not from fear, but from curiosity. Max nudged her hand with his nose, as if to say, "Look closer, this matters." Emily unfolded the paper slowly. It was a photograph, a faded snapshot of her family, years ago. She remembered this moment. She remembered the warmth of that summer day, the laughter, the picnic blankets, the tiny handprints on the picnic basket. Tears pricked her eyes. "Max, how did you?" she whispered. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Max's calm gaze, the gentle wag of his tail, spoke everything. He nudged the photo again, then sat back, ears still alert. Emily laughed softly through her tears, a mix of wonder and warmth filling her chest. You wanted me to find this," she murmured. The house was still. Outside, the wind rustled the trees again. Inside, Emily and Max sat together on the rug, bathed in the soft silver glow of the moonlight. She reached down, hugging him lightly. You always know, don't you? Max leaned into her touch, his eyes soft and knowing. There was no fear. No urgency. Just quiet, profound connection. And in that quiet, Emily felt something she couldn't yet name. Something magical in the way Max moved, the way he watched, the way he guided her to this forgotten memory. She picked up her phone slowly, holding it above the photo to take a picture. Max tilted his head, watching, his body relaxed yet purposeful. The camera caught the silver moonlight reflecting off his fur, capturing a moment of gentle intuition, of bond, of love. Emily swallowed softly. She felt the night stretching around them like a secret only they shared. And she knew, she hadn't even begun to understand what Max had sensed. What the dog sensed would change everything. The next morning, sunlight spilled softly through Emily's bedroom window. The golden rays brushed across the floorboards, warming the room with a sleepy glow. Max lay stretched at the foot of her bed, his fur catching the light, looking every bit the calm guardian he had always been. Emily stirred, blinking against the sun. She could still feel the magic of last night, the photo, Max's gentle guidance, the quiet connection they had shared in the moonlight. She sat up slowly, brushing her hair back, and Max immediately lifted his head, ears alert, as if he sensed her thoughts before she even spoke. "Good morning, Max," she said softly. His tail wagged gently, a rhythmic beat of comfort and understanding. As she made her way downstairs, Max padded ahead of her, glancing back to make sure she was following. Today, the house felt lighter, yet the memory of the photograph lingered like a soft echo. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Max wanted to show her something more, something beyond what she had found the night before. Max led her toward the living room again, but this time he didn't stop at the corner with the old photo. His paws moved deliberately across the carpet, stopping by the windows. He sniffed the air, tilting his head, then glanced back at Emily as if to say, "Look closer, pay attention." Emily knelt beside him, her hand brushing his soft fur. "I see, you want me to notice something outside?" she murmured. The morning light made the living room feel warm and safe, but she couldn't help the flutter of anticipation that ran through her chest. Max barked softly once, almost a musical note in the quiet room. Then he pressed his nose to the windowpane, eyes wide and focused. Emily followed his gaze and saw nothing unusual. Just the backyard, bathed in sunlight, the wind ruffling the autumn leaves. But Max didn't move. He continued to watch intently, tail sweeping slowly across the floor. Emily's heart thumped in rhythm with the gentle wag. There was a purpose behind his actions, she could feel it in the calm but focused way he held himself. "Okay. I'll play along," Emily whispered. She grabbed her camera from the counter and crouched beside him, letting Max guide her attention. As she focused, she noticed something subtle, a small patch of disturbed soil near the old oak tree at the far end of the yard. The sunlight glinted off a corner of something buried beneath the leaves. Max barked softly again and ran a few steps to the spot, sitting down and nudging at the earth with his nose. Emily's curiosity ignited. She knelt beside him and carefully cleared the leaves, revealing a small wooden box, weathered by time, with faint carvings etched on its surface. Her fingers trembled slightly as she lifted the lid. Inside was a collection of letters, folded carefully, their edges yellowed with age. They were addressed to her grandmother, love letters, long-forgotten notes filled with warmth, hope, and quiet devotion. Emily's eyes widened. Her grandmother had passed years ago, and these letters had vanished long before she could ever read them. Max sat quietly beside her, his eyes calm yet shining with that same purposeful focus. He nudged her hand gently with his nose, encouraging her to continue exploring, to feel the connection he had led her to. Emily read one of the letters aloud softly, her voice a whisper carried in the crisp morning air. "My dearest, every moment without you feels like a lifetime, yet I hold on to our memories, knowing we will meet again in laughter and in love." Her voice faltered, and she blinked rapidly to hold back tears. Max leaned against her, resting his head on her shoulder. She wrapped an arm around him, feeling the steady warmth of his body, the soft weight of his presence. He was more than a dog in that moment, he was a bridge to the past, a gentle guide showing her pieces of her family's story she had never known. Hours passed quietly. Emily sifted through the letters while Max remained by her side, alert yet peaceful, occasionally nudging a note closer to her hand or pawing gently at the box if she paused too long. His actions were deliberate, almost ceremonial. She laughed softly through her tears at his insistence. "You really want me to understand, don't you, Max?" He wagged his tail in response, a slow, thoughtful rhythm, as if acknowledging her words without sound. By mid-morning, Emily stepped onto the porch with Max following close behind. The warm sunlight kissed her cheeks. She looked at the oak tree, at the spot where the box had rested, and realized the depth of Max's intuition. It wasn't just about finding things, it was about uncovering memories, connecting hearts, guiding her toward emotional truths she hadn't even known she was seeking. Max barked softly, glancing back at her with that same calm, purposeful gaze. Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I think you've become my guide," she said quietly. "Not just a pet, but something more." Max nudged her hand again, resting his head against her arm. In the soft morning light, with the letters of the past laid out around them, Emily felt a gentle, unspoken bond deepen. It was quiet, cinematic, almost magical. The dog she had known all her life was now a quiet force of intuition and love, helping her uncover a piece of her family she had never fully understood. And as Emily looked down at Max, she realized this was only the beginning. His quiet guidance, his gentle insistence, hinted that more discoveries awaited, stories hidden in plain sight, memories waiting to be felt again, emotions waiting to be understood. She took a deep breath, letting the warmth of the morning sun seep into her chest. Max's presence was grounding, soothing, and full of quiet wisdom. She patted him gently, whispering, "I trust you, Max, show me what's next." And in that serene, golden light, Max's gaze softened yet remained intentional. The world felt still around them, and Emily understood, more than ever, that his quiet actions held meaning beyond words, meaning she was only beginning to uncover. His intuition was guiding her, to truths she hadn't yet imagined. The house was quiet again that evening. Soft orange sunlight filtered through the curtains, brushing the walls with a warm glow. Emily sat on the couch, the wooden box of letters beside her, Max curled at her feet, his head resting on her lap. She had spent the day reading, absorbing the words of love and memory hidden for decades. Each letter felt like a secret passed down just for her. And through it all, Max had stayed close, his eyes following her every movement, ears twitching at the faintest sound. Emily let out a soft sigh. "You're amazing, Max," she whispered. He lifted his head, gazing at her with that same quiet purpose. His tail wagged slowly, almost ceremonially, and she felt a shiver of awe run through her. He wasn't just a dog, he was a silent guide, a companion leading her into understanding. Curiosity bloomed in Emily's chest. She had always loved Max, always known he was special. But now, she realized there was more. Something deeper at play. The way he had led her to the hidden letters, his insistence on small gestures, the gentle nudges toward discovery, it was as if he could sense not just objects, but emotions, memories, and connections invisible to anyone else. She leaned closer, tracing her fingers along the edges of the letters, observing Max. His gaze shifted from the papers to her, then toward the hallway. A soft whine escaped him, almost inaudible. Emily followed his eyes. There was nothing, just the quiet, familiar rooms of her home. Yet, the way Max stayed alert, focused, intentional, made her pulse quicken. "Are you sensing something else?" she asked softly. Max tilted his head, pawed at the floor, and nudged her hand gently. Emily laughed softly through her curiosity. "I swear, you're trying to tell me something, aren't you?" The afternoon sunlight dimmed into a gentle amber as clouds drifted lazily across the sky. Emily and Max moved through the house together. Each time she paused, he nudged, barked softly, or shifted toward something unseen. It was subtle, gentle, patient. The quiet insistence in his movements drew her in, compelling her to follow and observe. In the kitchen, Max stopped by the pantry. He sniffed along the edge of the cabinet and looked back at Emily, his eyes luminous in the fading light. She crouched beside him, curiosity prickling her. She opened the cabinet slowly. Inside, nestled among boxes of tea, she found a small tin she had never noticed before. Emily lifted the tin. It rattled lightly, something shifting inside. Her pulse quickened. Max wagged his tail softly, leaning into her touch. "Good boy," she murmured. Carefully, she opened the lid, revealing old photographs of her mother as a young girl, playing in a park, laughing with friends, holding a small golden retriever that looked remarkably like Max. Emily felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't anticipated. The room seemed to glow with a golden light as she traced the images with her fingers. Memories she had never known, fragments of her mother's childhood, all quietly revealed by Max's intuition. She sank onto the floor, the tin resting in her lap, and Max laid his head across her knees. The gentle weight of his body, the soft warmth of his fur, anchored her as she absorbed the moment. He was calm yet purposeful. She couldn't help but smile through her tears. You know exactly what I need, don't you?" Hours passed with the two of them exploring small corners of the house, guided by Max's quiet insistence. Each discovery was small, yet meaningful. A forgotten note tucked behind a bookshelf, a pressed flower in a diary, a ribbon she remembered her mother wearing long ago. Max led her to each, never forcing, never rushing, only pointing with gentle gestures and expectant eyes. Emily began to realize something profound. Max wasn't just responding to the present. He seemed attuned to the echoes of the past, the weight of memories tucked in quiet corners. Every soft bark, every tilt of his head, every nudge of his nose, it all carried meaning. She was beginning to see a pattern, a rhythm in his guidance. By evening, the house was bathed in a soft twilight. Emily sat cross-legged on the floor, Max lying beside her, ears twitching as he watched the last rays of sunlight fade. Her curiosity had transformed into quiet wonder. She understood that Max was more than her dog. He was a bridge, connecting her to stories, memories, and emotions she had never fully grasped. Emily stroked his fur slowly, letting the warmth of his presence fill her chest. "I don't know how you do it, Max, but I think we're just beginning." She paused, breathing in the calm, amber-lit room. Max nudged her hand gently in agreement, as if assuring her that the path ahead was theirs to explore together. And as the first stars began to appear in the night sky, Emily realized the gentle truth of Max's actions. His intuition wasn't magic, not exactly. It was love. It was attentiveness. It was a quiet connection that saw beyond the surface, into the heart of things that truly mattered. She leaned back against the couch, Max resting at her side, and whispered softly, "Show me more, Max." "I'm ready." Emily's curiosity was growing, and Max's gentle guidance was only beginning to reveal the depth of the story waiting for them. Twilight had settled over the house, painting the walls in shades of deep amber and soft rose. Emily sat on the living room rug, Max curled at her side. The letters, photographs, and small mementos they had discovered together were scattered gently around them, forming a mosaic of memories and quiet stories. She looked down at Max, noticing how the dim light glinted off his golden fur. His eyes met hers, calm yet alive, full of intent, full of understanding. For a moment, she felt as if she could read his mind, as if he were silently saying, "I've been waiting for this moment, for us to understand each other fully." Emily let out a slow sigh, leaning back on her hands. "Max, you're incredible," she whispered, her voice soft against the quiet hum of the house. He tilted his head, nudging her hand with his warm nose, and she smiled. That simple gesture carried more meaning than words could express. The evening stretched gently, unhurried. Emily began to notice the little things, the way Max's ears twitched at her slightest movements, the way his tail swished rhythmically when she shifted, the soft exhalations as he settled closer. It was as if every movement was a heartbeat in sync with her own, a silent conversation in the language of trust and love. She picked up one of the old letters, brushing her fingers across the faded ink. "You've been guiding me to these things all along," she said softly. Max leaned closer, resting his head lightly on her knee. She laughed quietly, a warm, airy sound. "I can feel it now, everything you've done for me. You've been showing me the world in ways I never noticed." The golden light of the lamp flickered gently across the room, casting soft shadows that danced with the warmth of the evening. Emily reached down to scratch behind Max's ears, and he closed his eyes, leaning into her touch with a gentle sigh. It was a quiet, cinematic moment, the kind that felt like it belonged in a memory rather than real life. Max nudged her again, this time toward a small box tucked on the bookshelf. Emily opened it slowly, revealing more photographs of her family, some she had never seen before. She traced the edges, noticing the smiles frozen in time, the laughter captured in still frames, and the warmth of moments long past. "It's like, you knew I needed this," she whispered. Max's eyes met hers, glowing softly in the lamplight, full of quiet assurance. She laughed lightly through tears, the kind of laugh that comes from a heart fully moved. "You're not just a dog, you're part of our story, Max. You've always been." The night deepened, and with it, a gentle rhythm settled between them. Emily read another letter aloud, her voice low and tender, while Max rested his head in her lap, alert but calm. Each word seemed to connect them further, weaving a bridge between the past and the present, between memory and love. At one point, Max nudged her hand again, leading her to the window. Outside, the moon hung low, silver and serene, illuminating the backyard where the letters had first been found. Emily realized the beauty of it all, the way Max had guided her, not with urgency, but with patience, intuition, and love. She pressed a hand to his soft fur. "You've opened my eyes, Max," she whispered. "I've never felt this close to someone like this before. You understand me." Max shifted slightly, pressing closer, resting his head against her arm. The warmth of his body, the soft rise and fall of his breathing, grounded her. She could feel the trust they shared deepen with every passing moment, every gentle nudge, every soft gaze. Time seemed to stretch, unmeasured, as Emily and Max remained there together. She began to feel the quiet magic in the rhythm of their connection, the way a dog's intuition could lead a human to hidden truths, and the way love and attentiveness could reveal what was long forgotten. By the end of the evening, Emily leaned back against the couch, Max still resting by her side. The room was bathed in moonlight now, silver and serene, wrapping them in a cocoon of warmth and quiet understanding. She stroked his fur gently, savoring the soft weight of his body against hers. "I trust you, Max," she said softly, almost a vow. "Whatever comes next, I'll follow you." Max looked up at her, eyes shimmering with quiet purpose. Then he nudged her hand again, as if to remind her there were more stories to uncover, more memories to rediscover, more truths to feel. And Emily knew, in the depth of her heart, that every step of the journey would be guided by the gentle, intuitive bond they now shared. The bond between them deepened, a quiet connection that felt timeless, full of love, understanding, and gentle mystery. The next morning, sunlight spilled softly through the kitchen window, casting long, golden streaks across the hardwood floor. Emily sat at the table, a fresh cup of tea in her hands, while Max lay nearby, ears twitching as he watched her move. The day felt calm, but there was an unspoken anticipation in the air. Emily could sense it in Max's posture, the subtle lift of his head, the quiet shift of his weight, the way his eyes followed her attentively. It was the same insistence that had guided her to the hidden letters, the old photographs, and the tin of childhood memories. She knew, today would reveal something more. "Ready, Max?" she whispered softly, running a hand along his back. He responded with a gentle wag of his tail, nudging her hand with his nose as if saying, "Yes, let's go." Max led her slowly toward the study, a room she had always passed by without thought. The sunlight through the window caught dust motes drifting lazily in the air, creating a soft, ethereal glow. Max stopped at the far corner of the room, pawing lightly at the floor, then looking back at her. Emily crouched down beside him. "What is it this time?" she murmured. Max nudged a small, worn notebook toward her. Emily picked it up carefully, brushing dust from the cover. The leather was soft and slightly cracked with age, the edges frayed from years of handling. She opened it slowly, feeling the weight of history in her hands. Inside were her grandmother's journals. Each page was filled with delicate handwriting, flowing and precise, full of observations, dreams, and memories of the people and places she loved. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't known these journals existed. How had Max found them? She began to read quietly, the words unfolding a story of warmth, family, and love. Her grandmother wrote about the same golden retriever that Emily had seen in the old photographs, describing the dog's gentle intuition, loyalty, an uncanny ability to sense her emotions. Max, now lying beside her, nudged the journal gently with his nose, as if acknowledging the connection he shared with this past companion. Emily felt a soft shiver run through her. You've been leading me here, to this," she whispered. She looked down at Max, her eyes misty. He gazed back calmly, his expression serene and knowing. It was as if he understood exactly what she was feeling and why it mattered. The room seemed to hold its breath, the light shifting subtly as Emily turned the pages. She discovered entries describing moments of quiet guidance, small discoveries, and the gentle ways her grandmother's dog had revealed memories long hidden. Each story mirrored her own experience with Max, bridging past and present in a way that felt almost magical. Tears blurred her vision. She laughed softly through them, a warm, airy sound that filled the room. It's like you were always meant to guide me, Max," she whispered. He nudged her hand gently in reply, pressing his head into her palm with a steady, comforting weight. Emily spent hours in the study, reading and reflecting, with Max never leaving her side. He nudged her when she paused too long, shifted closer when she leaned back, and wagged his tail softly whenever she found another hidden detail. Each movement was deliberate, filled with quiet purpose. She realized that every instinctive gesture he had shown her over the past days was leading her to this deeper understanding. By afternoon, the golden light had softened into a gentle warmth, wrapping the room in tranquility. Emily closed the journal, her heart full, and stroked Max's fur slowly. "You show me so much, Max, more than I ever could have imagined." He leaned into her touch, eyes half closed, exuding a quiet confidence and connection that filled her with awe. She realized something profound. Max's guidance wasn't just about discovering objects or memories, it was about uncovering the feelings behind them. The love, the care, the stories passed quietly through generations. Max had become a bridge not only to her grandmother's past, but to the emotional truths she had never fully understood until now. The soft evening light cast long shadows across the study, and Emily sat in reflective silence, Max resting at her feet. Every nudge, every gaze, every gentle bark from him had led to this moment, the revelation of stories, memories, and emotions she hadn't known existed. Max lifted his head slightly and nudged her hand again, a subtle reminder that their journey was not yet over. Emily smiled through her tears, feeling the quiet power of the bond between them. "Show me more," she whispered. "I want to understand everything." The room seemed to hum with quiet warmth, the kind that comes from deep connection, understanding, and trust. Emily realized that Max's intuition had always been about more than guiding her, it was about helping her see the heart behind the memories, the meaning behind the objects, and the love that persisted through time. She leaned back in the chair, Max resting his head on her lap, and breathed in the soft, amber-lit room. The gentle reveal had begun, and Emily felt a sense of wonder and gratitude unlike anything she had known before. The gentle truths were beginning to unfold, and Emily sensed that Max's guidance was far from over. The house was quiet that evening, bathed in the soft, golden glow of sunset. Emily sat on the porch, Max resting beside her, his head on her knee. The journals, photographs, letters, and small keepsakes were spread across the living room floor, their stories lingering in her mind like soft whispers of the past. Emily held a small photograph in her hand, a snapshot of her mother as a little girl, laughing under the sun, holding a puppy that looked remarkably like Max. Her chest tightened, not with sadness, but with something warmer, something profound. Max nudged her hand gently, his eyes bright and steady. Emily looked down at him, realizing again how deliberate every movement was, every gesture. It wasn't just coincidence. It was intention. Max had guided her to this moment, and now, she began to understand the weight of what he had done. "Max, you've led me to so many memories," she whispered softly, her fingers stroking his golden fur. "But there's something more, isn't there?" He responded with a soft whine, leaning closer, nudging her hand again. Emily laughed quietly through tears. I think I understand now." She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. The memories of the past few days, the letters, the journals, the hidden photographs, and even the simple nudges and gestures from Max, came together in a quiet realization. Max wasn't just guiding her to objects or stories. He was guiding her to feel the love, the care, and the connection that had existed in her family for generations. Her heart swelled with warmth. Every time Max had led her, nudged her, or focused on something seemingly small, he was showing her the invisible threads that tied her past to her present, the emotions, the memories, the love that persisted quietly through time. Emily took Max's head in her hands, looking into his steady, intelligent eyes. "You've been showing me how to see, how to feel, how to understand," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "And I get it now." Max wagged his tail slowly, leaning into her touch. It was a silent affirmation, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond they shared. Emily realized in that moment that their connection went far beyond companionship. It was trust. It was understanding. It was love. She picked up the old tin of photographs again, flipping through them one by one. Each image now seemed to speak louder, richer, filled with stories she had never fully appreciated before. Max nudged a photograph toward her, her grandmother, young and joyful, holding a small golden retriever. Emily smiled, softly laughing through tears. "I see now, it's you, Max," she whispered. "You've been helping me understand her, helping me feel her love through you." Max barked softly once, the sound gentle and melodic, and then nudged her hand again. Emily realized the depth of his intuition. It wasn't just about finding memories, it was about connecting hearts. Max had felt the invisible threads of love, trust, and family, and he had led her gently to them, step by step. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with shades of amber, pink, and violet. Emily sat on the porch with Max by her side, the warm light washing over them. She felt the enormity of the moment, the realization of Max's purpose, the depth of their bond, and the quiet, beautiful truth of what he had guided her to understand. Her fingers traced his soft fur. "You've been my guide, Max, my bridge to the past, and to the love I never knew I needed to feel," she whispered. Max leaned into her, resting his head on her shoulder, and she wrapped an arm around him. The world seemed to pause around them, the warmth of the sunset and the quiet rhythm of Max's breathing filling her senses. Emily thought back to the first night, when he had nudged her toward the corner of the living room, guiding her to the hidden photograph. Every small gesture since then had led to this, the gentle revelation that love, memory, and intuition could be found in the quietest of moments. The emotional weight of understanding settled softly over her. She realized that Max's behavior had a meaning no one could have anticipated. He had not only revealed forgotten memories but had guided her heart to see them fully, to feel the love and connection they carried. Tears welled in her eyes again, but this time, they were tears of joy, gratitude, and awe. "Thank you, Max, for everything," she whispered, pressing her forehead gently against his soft golden fur. He nuzzled her in reply, his tail sweeping slowly across the porch floor. As the last rays of sunlight faded behind the horizon, Emily knew something profound. This moment, this connection, this understanding, it would stay with her forever. Max had not only revealed the past but had given her a deeper awareness of love, trust, and the gentle beauty of intuition. She leaned back, feeling Max's warmth beside her, and breathed deeply. Every step of their journey, every soft nudge, every deliberate glance had led her here. And she knew there was still more to discover, more quiet revelations waiting in the days ahead. Max's guidance had led to a turning point, one that would change Emily's understanding of love, memory, and connection forever. The following morning, soft light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting a gentle glow across Emily's room. Max lay beside her bed, his eyes half closed, yet alert to every subtle movement she made. There was an unspoken energy in the air, a quiet anticipation that something meaningful was about to unfold. Emily stretched slowly, glancing at the collection of letters, photographs, and journals that Max had guided her to over the past days. Each item now felt like a piece of a puzzle she had only just begun to assemble. Her chest tightened with warmth as she realized how deeply Max had been leading her, not just through objects, but into the heart of her family's story. "Okay, Max," she whispered softly, kneeling beside him, "show me the truth you've been guiding me to." Max lifted his head, ears twitching, and nudged her hand gently. Then he stood, turning toward the hallway with deliberate steps. Emily followed, the warmth of the morning light spilling around them. Max paused at the living room, then shifted his attention to the old oak tree visible through the window. Emily's curiosity spiked. The tree had already been the site of the hidden box, the photograph, the letters. She glanced down at Max, whose golden eyes met hers with quiet intensity. It was as if he was saying, "There is one last piece, the heart of it all." She stepped outside, Max padding beside her. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and earth. Sunlight danced across the leaves, casting dappled shadows across the ground. Max stopped at the base of the oak tree and sat, nose brushing against the grass. Emily knelt beside him, her fingers tracing the soil gently, remembering the spot where the first box had been uncovered. Then she noticed something new, a small wooden frame, partially hidden beneath the roots. She carefully lifted it, brushing away the dirt. Inside was a photograph she had never seen before, her grandmother as a young woman, smiling gently, holding a small golden retriever, Max's doppelganger. Behind her grandmother stood her grandfather, arms wrapped warmly around her, his eyes full of love. Emily's breath caught. She sank to her knees, the frame held delicately in her hands. Max rested his head lightly against her shoulder, his presence grounding and comforting. The truth became clear, this wasn't just a collection of memories. It was a story of enduring love, of connection across generations, of a bond that transcended time. She turned to Max, tears welling in her eyes. You show me all of this, to help me feel them, to understand their love." Max responded with a soft, almost musical bark, nudging her hand again. His eyes gleamed with that same calm, purposeful wisdom. Emily realized the full weight of what had unfolded. Every soft nudge, every deliberate gaze, every subtle movement Max had made over the past days had been a guide not merely to forgotten objects, but to the emotions and connections those objects carried. He had brought her face to face with her family's history, with the quiet beauty of enduring love. She stood slowly, holding the photograph against her chest. Max walked beside her, tail sweeping the ground gently, his eyes scanning every detail with unwavering attention. Emily's heart swelled as she reflected on the bond they shared, not just as human and dog, but as companions navigating the threads of memory, love, and intuition together. The sun climbed higher, bathing the yard in golden light. Emily sat beneath the oak tree with Max at her side, the photograph resting gently in her lap. She laughed softly, a sound mingled with tears and joy. "I understand now. Max. I understand everything." Max leaned into her, resting his head on her knee. Emily stroked his soft fur, feeling the warmth of his body, the gentle rise and fall of his breathing, the steady reassurance that he was always there, guiding, loving, understanding. She picked up the old letters and journals again, reviewing them with newfound clarity. Each item now carried layers of meaning she hadn't perceived before. Max had led her to see not just the past, but the feelings behind the past, the love, the hope, the quiet acts of care that had defined her family for generations. Hours passed like this, with Emily and Max exploring the final pieces of the story together. Each discovery, each recollection, felt like a gentle confirmation of Max's purpose. He had been more than a pet. He had been a bridge, a guide, a guardian of memories, a keeper of love. As the evening approached, painting the sky in shades of amber and soft lavender, Emily leaned against Max, tears of gratitude and wonder tracing her cheeks. "You've given me more than memories, Max, you've given me connection, understanding, love," she whispered. He nudged her hand gently, tail sweeping softly across the ground, a quiet affirmation of all she felt. For the first time, Emily truly grasped the depth of Max's intuition. It was not magical in a supernatural sense, it was love, attentiveness, and understanding, expressed in subtle gestures, guiding her to uncover and feel the history of her family. She rested her forehead against his, inhaling the warmth and scent of his fur. "Thank you," she whispered again, softly, fully, from the depths of her heart. Max leaned into her, and for a long, serene moment, the world outside ceased to exist. The gentle mystery had revealed its heart. The truth behind Max's actions, the love, the guidance, the quiet understanding, was more beautiful than Emily could have imagined. And she knew, deep within her, that this bond, this journey, would stay with her forever. The heart of Max's guidance was revealed, and the beauty of his actions left Emily forever changed. The next morning, sunlight poured softly into Emily's room, painting the walls in warm, golden hues. The house felt lighter, calmer, almost as if it were breathing with her. Max lay at her side, eyes half closed but alert, his presence steady and comforting. Emily stretched slowly, taking in the quiet serenity of the moment. The past days had been filled with discoveries, memories, and revelations guided by Max's gentle intuition. And now, she felt a sense of completeness she hadn't known was possible. She looked down at Max, brushing a hand along his soft fur. "We've come so far together, haven't we?" she whispered. He nudged her hand gently, tail sweeping softly across the floor, and she smiled. There was no need for words. The bond they shared spoke volumes: trust, understanding, love, and quiet companionship. The house was filled with warmth and light as Emily moved through it, placing the journals, letters, and photographs carefully on the shelf. Each item now carried layers of meaning she hadn't seen before. Max followed closely, guiding her silently, ensuring that every piece found its rightful place. Stepping onto the porch, Emily felt the gentle breeze on her face. Max padded beside her, sniffing the morning air, ears alert yet relaxed. The backyard, where so many discoveries had begun, now felt like a sacred space, a place of memory, love, and connection. She knelt beside the old oak tree, placing the final photograph they had uncovered into her hands. Max sat quietly beside her, his gaze steady, knowing, and patient. Emily traced the image with her fingers, feeling the love frozen in time, the story of her family unfolding gently before her. "You've shown me more than I ever imagined, Max," she whispered, her voice soft, filled with gratitude. "You've helped me see, feel, and understand, in ways I couldn't have alone." Max leaned into her, nudging her hand with his nose, a silent affirmation that their journey had been shared fully, heart to heart. Emily felt a wave of calm wash over her. The quiet mystery had been resolved, not with dramatic revelations or surprises, but with gentle guidance, patient intuition, and the quiet power of love. Max had led her to memories, emotions, and connections she hadn't known she needed. She laughed softly through tears, the sound mingling with the gentle rustling of the leaves. "You're more than a dog, Max," she said. "You're part of my family's story, and my heart." Max wagged his tail slowly, resting his head lightly against her shoulder. The afternoon sunlight warmed the porch as Emily and Max sat together in quiet companionship. Time seemed to stretch, unmeasured, allowing the moment to breathe fully. She realized that the journey with Max wasn't just about the past, it was about the bond they shared in the present, a connection that would continue into the future. Emily leaned back against the railing, Max at her side, and let her mind drift over the day's events. Every nudge, every bark, every focused gaze had led to the sense of understanding, peace, and fulfillment. The gentle mystery had resolved into a tapestry of love, memory, and trust, with Max at its heart. She closed her eyes for a moment, pressing her forehead to Max's soft fur. "Thank you," she whispered again, softly, completely. Max rested his head against her, breathing steady and calm. In that quiet moment, Emily felt the depth of their connection, the unspoken language they shared, built over years, strengthened through days of discovery, and now solidified through understanding. The sun dipped lower, casting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Emily rose slowly, brushing dust from her jeans, and looked at Max with a smile that carried both gratitude and wonder. "We found them all, Max," she said. "And we found each other, too." Max barked softly in response, a gentle sound full of affirmation. Emily laughed, the sound warm and light, echoing softly across the yard. She reached down, hugging him gently, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the warmth of his body, and the unwavering loyalty that had guided her through this journey. As evening fell, Emily and Max sat together on the porch steps, the sky painted in twilight colors. She looked out across the yard, feeling the quiet magic of the world around her, the breeze through the trees, the soft hum of distant birds settling for the night, and the warmth of a dog who had become her guide, protector, and companion. The journey had begun with a soft bark in the middle of the night, and now, it had culminated in a profound sense of love, understanding, and connection. Emily knew that this bond between her, Max, and the memories they had uncovered would remain forever. She leaned back against him, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the calm wash over her. Max rested beside her, ears twitching slightly, eyes soft and knowing. Together, they had navigated the quiet mystery, uncovered the heart of the story, and found emotional closure in the warmth of their shared journey. Emily whispered, just above the whisper of the evening breeze, "I love you, Max. Thank you for everything." Max nudged her gently in response, and she laughed softly through tears, the sound warm and light. The world felt complete, full of love, memory, and quiet understanding. With the mystery gently resolved, Emily and Max sat together in the warmth of their bond, a love and connection that would last a lifetime.